Okay, now that you've hopefully got your D chord all sounding sweet, it's time to learn two new chords, and they're going to be the A chord and the E chord. Now there are two very common fingerings for an A chord, which is the first one we're going to learn. There's a traditional approach, which I taught for many years, but there's also a newer version that I've been teaching the last couple of years, which I think may be a slightly better version for a beginner, but it doesn't really matter which one you choose. A little bit it depends on your finger size. So we're going to go now to a close-up of the left hand, and I'll show you how to play them. Okay, so for the A chord, the two approaches to playing the A chord. The first one, which is the traditional one, you start with your first finger down on the 4th string, 2nd fret, second finger goes underneath on the 3rd string, and third finger goes underneath that in the 2nd string. Now you can see that's quite cramped to get all of your fingers there in the same fret. It also means that your first finger is quite far away from the fret, which can sometimes lead to some buzzing, or you have to press that finger down very, very hard in order to make it work. So this is not a bad approach to an A chord. If you've learnt it that way, then I'd stick with it. But the way that I think is better now is to swap the strings that your first and second fingers are on. Now this is the way that the dots are shown on my beginner's course on the internet, is this way. So you'd want to start with your first finger, 2nd fret on the 3rd string, put down your second finger above it on the 4th string, and your third finger will go underneath there on the 2nd string, also in the 2nd fret. What that means is that these two fingers are now nice and close to the fret, and first finger can kind of sneak up underneath it. Now, once you've got the chord shape in position, don't forget to strum, pick out and strum. So again, you strum all of the strings except for the thickest string. So strum, pick them out one at a time. See that? Yeah, that's not pressing down hard enough, or it's too far away from the fret. So a little bit harder with that one. Make sure that your third finger is clear of that open string there, otherwise you'll get this. Yeah, so make sure it's lifted up. Again, it's all the tips of your fingers. Okay, so that's our A chord done. Now the other chord that we're looking at is E chord. Now if you've played your A chord that way and you want to change to E, it's quite easy to lift those two fingers off, slide your first finger back so it's now in the 1st fret of the 3rd string. Your second finger goes down 2nd fret 5th string, and third finger goes underneath. Now to play this chord, you'll see that all of the strings are played. If you look at the little neck diagram, pick them out one at a time. Just watch out for this first finger underneath touching the B string. It's quite common to get this. So just lifting that first finger up should get you a nice, clean, clear E chord. Okay, so I hope now you've got all three of your first chords down. You should have your D chord, A chord and E chord all sounding sweet. It's definitely worth spending a little bit of time every day. I'd recommend maybe 5 minutes every day doing practice on the chords, making sure that you get all of your fingers in exactly the right places. You practice the strum and the pick out and strum. Now the next thing that you need to be able to do before you can play a song is actually be able to change between the chords. For this I'd recommend that you practice an exercise called 1 minute changes, where for 1 minute you practice changing just between two particular chords. You time yourself and see how many chord changes you can do in that minute. Now the importance of this is just how many chord changes you're doing, not really to do with how long you do it for. So, for example, if you're doing A to D, you just practice A, change to D, back to A, back to D, back to A, back to D. And you just practice those ones over and over again and see how quick you can get it. Because as soon as you start trying to play a song, you find that you need to make the chord changes pretty quickly, more or less instantaneously. But to start off with, it'll take you a little, few seconds to get between each chord. Okay, so make sure those chords are to memory. When you've got those firmly in your mind and you're ready to try and attempt a song, then you're ready for the next lesson. See you in a sec.